In this presentation, I will be discussing the need for Christians in Global South to uphold the sanctity of the church. At the end of this presentation, one should be able to divine what Jesus meant by the term ecclesia. Discuss temporary understanding of the church, evaluate the contemporary church and Jesus concept of the community. The global shift of mission activities from the West to Global South is a welcome trend as far as Christianity is concerned. The attendant proliferation of churches in the region must not, however, be allowed to erode the sanctity of the church as bequeathed by Jesus Christ in Matthew 16, verse 18. In his words, Michael Ortiz, the ICT director, talked excitedly about the development in his recent reels, where he says, and I quote, "We now have 70% of the churches in the world in Global South. Africa, Asian, Latin America, that is a remarkable statistics, developing, growing and becoming stronger with many new believers and mission-minded, moving across the world to evangelize." End of quote. This day, the community of Jesus followers goes by the name church. Jesus, however, designated this community as the ecclesia. These two terms, church and the ecclesia, have different meanings. Ecclesia denotes an assembly or gathering, and it is derived from a Greek word that means calling out or to summon in common usage. The word refers to the calling out of citizens for an important meeting. It has different etymology from the word church. Church, on the other hand, is a transliteration of the Greek word kyriakos, which means house of the Lord. The origin of the English word church is not known precisely. Only Matthew presents Jesus as having used ecclesia in all the four Gospels, 3 times in the entire Gospel. Matthew chapter 16, verse 18. Matthew chapter 18, verse 17. The choice of the ecclesia was appropriate. The word links two Greek words together to mean a call-out assembly. It is now worrisome today that the church in Africa wears a face that largely differs from the way Jesus conceived it. This disparity in conception is reflected in the church's relation with the world or state wherein it is no longer easy to find any marked difference between a community called out of the world and that the world itself. A scholar, Edgar Jones, in 2003, suggests that this probably started when Constantine converted to Christianity and began to use the faith as a political tool to govern the state. Since then, governments worldwide tend to use the institutional church in the same manner in Africa. The church has become the safe abode of the politicians. the world's institution that has the most telling effect on the character of the ecclesia today is the nation. The nation has subsumed the ecclesia into one of its departments to promote its political interests. The nation supports the church in various ways. This symbiotic relationship between the church institutions, church and state, drawn from the same pool, the people has erased the dividing line that Jesus drew between the ecclesia, the garden of called out people, and the world. The church had surreptitiously crept into the world, and the world also into ecclesia. It is high time we strove to maintain the distinct identity that Jesus gave us as a congregation of God. People and restore the dignity of the ecclesia just as the early Jerusalem church understood and designated itself as the ecclesia of God. This equates the ideal of a new creation, community, and the new humanity by which the early Christian community identified itself.